Story disclaimer. This story is a work of fiction and is intended for entertainment purposes only. The content includes dark themes, horror elements, and fictional depictions of rituals and sacrifices that are purely imaginative and not reflective of any real-life practices or beliefs. Viewer discretion is advised. This video is not suitable for younger audiences, and parental guidance is recommended. The story does not endorse or promote any harmful behavior, violence, or dangerous activities. Please note that all characters, events, and settings are entirely fictional and created for the purpose of storytelling. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events, is purely coincidental. Aisha, a struggling artist from the heart of Awka, Nigeria, finds herself at the crossroads of desperation and ambition. When a mysterious talisman promises to fulfill her deepest desires, she makes a choice that changes her life forever. Fame, success, and recognition come quickly, but at what cost? As dark magic seeps into her world, Aisha learns that every wish demands a sacrifice, and shadows of the past begin to haunt her dreams. In a world where ambition clashes with loyalty, friendships are tested, and power comes at a steep price, Aisha's journey spirals into a dark and terrifying reality. How far is she willing to go to hold on to her newfound success? And will the cost of her wishes be too much to bear? Join us for dangers lurking in the shadows, but thrilling tale of dark magic, twists, and haunting consequences. Prepare to be on the edge of your seat as Aisha faces the ultimate battle between her desires and the dangers lurking in the shadows. Subscribe, like, share, and hit the notification button to be the first to watch the next episode. In the heart of Awka, Nigeria, the sun cast long shadows over the busy market, where laughter mingled with the calls of vendors selling colorful fabrics and fragrant spices. Aisha, a young artist with dreams larger than her small studio apartment, navigated through the crowd, her heart heavy. Despite her talent, her artwork never gained the attention it deserved. Bills piled up, and the weight of unfulfilled dreams pressed down on her like a heavy cloak. One afternoon, as she wandered through the stalls, Aisha's eyes caught a glimmering object tucked away in a corner. An old woman sat behind a rickety table, her skin as dark as polished ebony, and her eyes sparkled with a knowing light. "You seek something, child," she said, her voice low and melodic, drawing Aisha closer. On the table lay a strange talisman, intricately carved and pulsating with an eerie glow. Aisha felt a magnetic pull toward it. "What is it?" she asked, her curiosity piqued. The old woman leaned in closer, her breath smelling of ancient herbs. "This is a talisman of wishes. It grants the desires of your heart but demands something in return." Aisha's pulse quickened. She had heard whispers of such items in the market, objects said to hold dark powers that could alter the course of one's life. "What kind of price?" Aisha asked, a mixture of excitement and fear swirling inside her. "Each wish calls for a sacrifice," the woman replied, her gaze steady. "Not all are willing to pay. Many have come to regret their desires, their dreams twisted into nightmares." Aisha thought of her struggles, late nights spent painting, only to face rejection from galleries and patrons. "I want to be the greatest artist in Awka," she declared, her voice firm, despite the creeping dread curling in her stomach. "I wish to be seen and celebrated." "Very well," the old woman said, a faint smile playing on her lips. "But know this, ambition has a way of revealing the darkest parts of ourselves." With trembling hands, Aisha reached for the talisman. As her fingers brushed its surface, a shock of energy coursed through her, sending a jolt of fear and exhilaration down her spine. "What do I need to give?" she whispered, her heart racing. "Your first wish is granted, but you must be prepared to confront what you will lose," the woman warned, her expression suddenly serious. "The shadows will reveal themselves, and not all of them are friendly." As Aisha left the stall, the talisman felt heavy in her pocket, pulsing with power. She couldn't shake the feeling that the old woman's words were more than just a warning, they were a prophecy. Days turned into weeks as Aisha's work began to garner attention. Her paintings, vivid depictions of life in Awka, sold quickly. But as her fame grew, so did the darkness around her. Friends turned into rivals, and shadows flickered at the edges of her vision. One night, while preparing for an exhibition, she received a message from Kofi, her childhood friend. He was struggling to make ends meet as a musician, battling the same demons she faced. He texted, "I heard about your success. I'm proud of you, Aisha. But don't forget where you came from." His words tugged at her heart. Aisha thought about Kofi's dreams, how they used to talk about their futures over cups of tea. She wanted to help him, but her rise to fame had put a strain on their friendship. However, she invited Kofi to visit her. The following day, Kofi visited her, and the air was thick with unspoken tension. "You've changed," he said, his voice laced with disappointment. "You've forgotten your roots." "I'm trying to survive, Kofi," Aisha replied, frustration bubbling to the surface. "This is my chance. I can't throw it away." Their argument escalated, revealing deep-seated insecurities and jealousy. Aisha felt the shadows swirling around them, and for a moment, she almost sensed the talisman's power humming beneath her skin, urging her to act. In a moment of desperation, she reached for the talisman, thinking of a way to help Kofi without sacrificing her own success. "I wish for us both to succeed," she shouted, the words bursting from her lips. Suddenly, a chill swept through the room. The lights flickered, and a deep rumble echoed from the talisman, shaking the very foundations of her home. Kofi's eyes widened in horror as he took a step back. "What did you do?" As the shadows danced ominously around them, Aisha realized that every wish had its cost, and she was about to face the consequences of her desire. The talisman throbbed ominously, and in that moment, she understood the path to success was fraught with dangers she had never anticipated. The air crackled with tension as the talisman's pulse grew louder, drowning out Aisha's heartbeat. Kofi's wide eyes locked onto hers, a mixture of fear and anger flooding his expression. "You don't understand what you've done, Aisha. Magic like that comes with consequences. You could be inviting danger into your life." Aisha felt a chill run down her spine. The shadows flickered like restless spirits, and an unsettling weight hung in the air. "I just wanted to help us both," she protested, but deep down, a seed of doubt took root. What if she had unleashed something dark? The lights flickered again, plunging the room into darkness before flickering back to life. Aisha quickly pocketed the talisman, trying to dismiss the growing anxiety in her chest. "I can handle this, Kofi. I've worked too hard to let fear dictate my life." Kofi shook his head, stepping back. "It's not just fear, it's reality. I've heard whispers about a cult that seeks power through dark magic. They target artists, musicians, anyone with ambition. They'll take what you love most to keep you under their control." "Cult?" Aisha echoed, skepticism creeping into her voice. "You mean like a group of people sitting around chanting?" "It's more than that," Kofi insisted, his tone urgent. "They'll use your ambition against you. I can't just stand by and watch you fall into their hands. We need to find out what's happening before it's too late." The urgency in his voice struck a chord within Aisha. The darkness that had begun to seep into her life suddenly felt more real than ever. As her success blossomed, so too did the shadows creeping around her. "Okay," she agreed hesitantly. "Let's look into this cult." That night, Aisha and Kofi set out to explore the heart of Awka, where whispers of the cult lingered like a distant storm. They navigated narrow alleys illuminated by flickering street lamps, and the scent of spices filled the air. They approached an old, crumbling building that had once been a community center but now stood abandoned, its windows boarded up. This is where the rumors say they meet, Kofi whispered, glancing around nervously. We need to be careful. If they sense our presence. Before he could finish, a low chant resonated from inside, drawing Aisha closer. She felt an irresistible pull, her curiosity piqued. The voice echoed like a siren call, wrapping around her, promising power and connection. Stay close, Kofi urged, gripping her arm tightly as they crept closer to the door. They peeked through a crack in the boards and caught sight of a gathering inside. A circle of hooded figures surrounded a small altar, adorned with strange symbols and offerings. A flickering flame danced above it, casting long shadows that twisted and turned like living creatures. They are performing a ritual, Aisha murmured, her breath catching in her throat. What are they doing? Kofi's grip tightened. I don't know, but it can't be good. We should go. But Aisha couldn't tear her eyes away from the scene before her. A figure stepped forward, the hood falling back to reveal a face painted with intricate designs. We gather tonight to summon the power of the shadows, the leader proclaimed, their voice echoing with authority. Those who seek greatness must offer their loyalty and their fear. Only then will we share our power. Aisha felt a chill run through her. The idea of offering fear sent a shiver down her spine. What did it mean to offer such a thing? What would they do with it? Suddenly, one of the hooded figures turned toward the door, sensing their presence. Panic surged through Aisha, and she turned to Kofi. We need to get out of here. As they stumbled backward, they knocked over a pile of crates, sending them crashing to the ground. The chanting ceased, and a hushed silence enveloped the gathering. The leader turned sharply, their gaze piercing through the darkness. Who dares intrude? Aisha and Kofi ran, the adrenaline pumping through their veins. They darted down the alley, hearts racing. Aisha's mind raced as she considered what they had witnessed. We need to tell people about this, she panted, trying to catch her breath. We can't let them keep doing this. Kofi shook his head, panic etched across his face. And risk becoming targets. We need to find a way to protect ourselves first. I think your talisman has drawn their attention. You have to be careful. I didn't mean for this to happen, Aisha admitted, her voice trembling. I thought I was just wishing for success. As they reached a quieter part of the city, Aisha felt the weight of the talisman pressing against her thigh, a constant reminder of her ambition and the darkness it had awakened. The shadows around her seemed to shift, whispering secrets she couldn't quite understand. We need to figure out how to break the connection between your talisman and this cult, Kofi suggested. If they want your fear, we need to show them we are not afraid. But deep inside, Aisha felt a flicker of fear. What if the shadows were already too strong? What if she had opened a door that could never be closed? The answers lay ahead, wrapped in mystery and darkness, but she knew one thing for certain: she had to face it, or risk losing everything she had fought for. The night wrapped around Aisha and Kofi like a shroud, thick with uncertainty and foreboding. As they hurried through the streets of Awka, the air felt charged, buzzing with an energy that made Aisha's skin crawl. The talisman in her pocket pulsed faintly, almost as if it were alive, eager to connect with the shadows that lurked around them. They reached Kofi's small apartment, cluttered with sketches and remnants of his artistic dreams. We need to find out more about that cult, he said, pulling out his laptop. There must be information online about them. Aisha nodded, but her mind was elsewhere. Images of the hooded figures danced in her head, their chanting echoing like a haunting melody. What do they want with people like us? She wondered aloud. They thrive on ambition and fear, Kofi replied, tapping furiously on the keyboard. They believe that by feeding off people's fears, they can gain power. The more fearful the person, the stronger their magic. Magic? Aisha asked, intrigued yet apprehensive. Is it real? Kofi glanced up, his eyes wide. If they can summon shadows, it must be. But it's not the kind of magic we'd want to mess with. It comes with a price, a dark price. What kind of price? Aisha asked, her curiosity piqued. Sometimes it requires offerings, like animals. Other times, it can take something from you, your joy, your dreams, even your memories, Kofi explained, shivering at the thought. Aisha felt a wave of dread wash over her. She couldn't help but remember the stories her grandmother had told her about witches and dark magic. Those tales had always seemed far-fetched, but now they felt too real. We need to find a way to break this connection before it consumes us, she said, determination hardening her resolve. As they researched, they stumbled upon an old forum where people shared their encounters with the cult. One story caught Aisha's eye. A woman spoke of a ritual that involved a dark offering to sever ties with the cult. It says you need to create a barrier to protect yourself from their influence, Aisha said, reading aloud. You have to gather certain items, a black candle, herbs from the riverbank, and a mirror to reflect their darkness. Kofi raised an eyebrow. A mirror? What's that for? It says it can reflect the darkness back at them, Aisha explained. We need to find these things. If this is real, it could help us. With a plan forming in her mind, Aisha felt a rush of hope mixed with fear. They decided to gather the items that very night. The shadows still clung to her, whispering their promises, but she would not let them win. They ventured to the riverbank, a place where the moonlight danced on the water's surface, illuminating the dark shadows around them. Aisha felt a chill as they approached, the air thick with anticipation. They searched for herbs that would help create the protective barrier. As Kofi bent down to collect some wild herbs, Aisha noticed a dark figure lurking in the distance, shrouded in shadow. It moved closer, and her heart raced. Kofi, look, she whispered urgently. But when Kofi turned, the figure vanished. What did you see? He asked, concern etched across his face. I don't know, but it felt wrong, Aisha replied, shivering. Let's hurry and get the rest of the items. After collecting herbs, they moved to a nearby marketplace, where they found a vendor selling candles. Aisha chose the black candle, its wax glistening ominously in the light. This feels powerful, she said, sensing its energy. With their items gathered, they returned to Kofi's apartment. Aisha set everything on the table, her heart pounding with both excitement and fear. Let's do this ritual, she said, determination shining in her eyes. Kofi lit the black candle, and they arranged the herbs in a circle around it. Aisha placed the mirror in front, reflecting the flickering candlelight. Now what? Kofi asked, glancing around nervously. We need to focus on our fears and visualize them being reflected back, Aisha instructed, her voice steady despite her rising anxiety. We have to believe that we can break free from their hold. As they began to chant the words from the forum, the air thickened, and a low hum resonated from the mirror. The shadows in the room danced violently, swirling around them, and Aisha felt the energy shift. Suddenly, the mirror clouded over, reflecting dark images, faces contorted in fear, the cult members chanting, and Aisha herself, surrounded by shadows, her dreams slipping away. A chill gripped her heart, and she nearly stumbled back. Kofi! What's happening? It's showing us our fears, he shouted over the rising noise. Keep going. They intensified their chant, desperation driving them forward. The shadows pressed in, trying to invade their space, but Aisha held onto the vision of breaking free. With every word, the mirror began to glow brighter, pushing back the darkness that threatened to consume them. As they reached the final words of the chant, a blinding flash erupted from the mirror, illuminating the room. Aisha and Kofi shielded their eyes, and when they looked again, the shadows had retreated, leaving only the flickering candlelight behind. Panting, they exchanged glances, disbelief etched on their faces. Did it work? Kofi asked, still catching his breath. Aisha nodded, though uncertainty lingered in her heart. I think so. But we need to stay vigilant. They won't give up easily. As they extinguished the candle, Aisha felt a shift in the air, a sense of calm mingled with the lingering tension. The shadows had been pushed back, but the cult was still out there, watching and waiting for their chance. Little did they know, the cult had sensed their defiance, and a dark figure had been watching them from the shadows, plotting their next move. Aisha's battle against the darkness was far from over, and soon, she would realize that some doors, once opened, could never truly be closed. As dawn broke over Awka, Aisha felt a mix of exhaustion and relief. They had managed to push back the shadows, but the weight of what lay ahead pressed heavily on her shoulders. She and Kofi sat at the small kitchen table, sipping bitter tea while the sunlight spilled into the room. What if they come after us? Kofi asked, his brow furrowed with concern. What if they didn't like what we did? Aisha stared out the window, watching the bustling streets come to life. Vendors were setting up their stalls, and children were laughing, their carefree voices a stark contrast to the darkness that loomed in her mind. We have to stay alert, she replied, her voice steady. They won't stop just because we did a ritual. We need to find out more about them. Just then, the sharp knock interrupted their conversation. Aisha's heart raced as she exchanged a wary glance with Kofi. Who could that be? She whispered. Kofi got up and peered through the peephole. It's a man I don't recognize. He looks serious. Aisha's instincts screamed at her to hide, but curiosity got the better of her. Let him in. We need to know if he's friend or foe. Kofi opened the door slowly, revealing a tall man dressed in traditional Nigerian attire, his face lined with worry. Hello, he said, his voice calm yet urgent. I am Malachi. I've heard whispers about you two and your encounter with the cult. Aisha's heart raced. How do you know about us? Malachi stepped inside, closing the door behind him. There are eyes everywhere. The cult has been active in this city for years, and they do not take kindly to those who oppose them. I've been watching you because I believe you might be our last hope. What do you mean? Kofi asked, skepticism etched across his face. The cult thrives on fear and darkness, as you know. They are searching for something powerful, something that can grant them even more control over the people of Awka, Malachi explained, his eyes glinting with urgency. They are after a mythical object known as the Heart of Shadows, said to amplify their dark magic. If they succeed, the entire city could be plunged into chaos. Aisha felt a chill run down her spine. And you think we can stop them? You already have by breaking the connection, Malachi replied, nodding approvingly. But we need to act fast. They will come for you, and the more time we waste, the closer they get to finding the Heart of Shadows. What do we need to do? Kofi asked, determination shining in his eyes. There's a sacred grove outside the city. It's rumored to be a hiding place for the Heart of Shadows. If we can reach it before the cult does, we might be able to secure it and use it against them, Malachi instructed. Aisha exchanged a glance with Kofi, and they both nodded. Let's go, Aisha said, her voice steady with resolve. They quickly gathered their belongings and set out with Malachi. As they navigated the narrow streets, Aisha felt an unsettling sensation creeping over her, eyes watching from the shadows, whispers in the wind. They reached the grove, a lush area teeming with life. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, creating a serene atmosphere. Yet Aisha felt the hairs on her arms stand on end. It was too quiet, nature held its breath, waiting for something ominous. Malachi led the way, moving swiftly through the underbrush. The Heart of Shadows is said to be protected by ancient magic. We must tread carefully, he warned. As they ventured deeper into the grove, they found an ancient stone altar adorned with carvings of animals and swirling patterns. In the center, a dark, pulsating stone sat, emanating a faint glow. "That's it," Malachi breathed, mingling with trepidation. "The Heart of Shadows." Before they could approach, a low rumble echoed through the grove. The shadows seemed to thicken, swirling around them as the air grew heavy. Suddenly, figures emerged from the darkness, hooded cult members, their eyes gleaming with malice. Aisha's heart raced as she realized they had been tracked. "Fools! You think you can take the heart from us?" one of them sneered, stepping forward. "You have no idea what you're meddling with." Malachi stood protectively in front of Aisha and Kofi. "You will not take it. We will not allow you to unleash darkness upon our city." Aisha felt a surge of power rise within her, fueled by her determination to protect her home. "We won't let you win," she shouted, stepping beside Malachi, her voice steady. The cult members laughed, their voices echoing in the grove. "You think your bravery can stand against our magic?" one taunted, raising his hands, summoning shadows that writhed and twisted around him. Kofi's eyes darted around, searching for a way out. "We need to get the heart and leave," he yelled, adrenaline pumping through him. With a quick glance at the altar, Aisha knew what to do. "Kofi, grab the heart," she ordered, her voice fierce. As Kofi lunged forward, shadows lashed out, attempting to ensnare him. But Aisha, fueled by the energy from the altar, reached out with her talisman. A bright light shot from it, pushing back the shadows momentarily. "Now!" Aisha shouted. Kofi seized the heart of shadows, its power surging through him. The cult members roared in fury, shadows converging on them as Aisha and Kofi sprinted towards Malachi. "We need to leave now," Malachi urged, ushering them deeper into the grove, where the shadows couldn't reach them. As they escaped, Aisha could feel the weight of the heart in Kofi's hands, pulsing with energy. They had taken a significant risk, but now they held the power to challenge the darkness. But as they emerged from the grove, they were met by a chilling sight. The city loomed ahead, and Aisha could feel the shadows shifting, waiting for their chance. The cult would not rest until they reclaimed what was theirs, and Aisha realized their fight had only just begun. As Aisha, Kofi, and Malachi emerged from the grove, the weight of the Heart of Shadows pulsed in Kofi's hands. The sky above Awka was a deepening orange as dusk approached, casting long shadows that seemed to reach out toward them. "Now what do we do?" Kofi asked, breathless from their escape but exhilarated by their newfound power. "Can we use this to stop the cult?" Malachi turned to face them, his expression grave. "The heart is a powerful artifact, but it can also be dangerous. We must be careful how we wield its power. We need to find a safe place to hide and consult the ancient texts about it. There are secrets that must be uncovered before we can confront the cult." Aisha nodded, feeling the urgency of the moment. "I know a place. My grandmother used to tell me stories about it, a hidden library in the heart of Awka. It's said to hold ancient knowledge about magic and spirits. We can find answers there." "Lead the way," Malachi said, and they set off towards the library, hearts racing with adrenaline. As they moved through the narrow streets of Awka, Aisha could feel the weight of eyes upon them. The shadows flickered as they passed, as if aware of their presence. Kofi walked close to Aisha, clutching the heart tightly, as if it would slip away. When they finally reached the library, it was an unassuming building, hidden between larger structures. The door creaked as Aisha pushed it open, revealing a dimly lit interior filled with shelves of dusty books. "Stay close," Malachi warned, scanning the room for any signs of danger. The cult could be anywhere. They made their way to the back of the library, where the ancient texts were kept. Aisha's heart raced as she pulled a thick book from the shelf, its cover worn and cracked. "This is it," she whispered, flipping through the pages filled with intricate illustrations and powerful spells. Kofi peered over her shoulder, excitement and anxiety mixing in his eyes. Can we find a way to use the heart against them? Aisha searched the pages, her fingers trembling with anticipation. It says here that the heart amplifies the user's intentions. If we use it for good, it can help us protect Awka, but if used for selfish reasons, it can unleash chaos. Malachi leaned closer, his voice urgent. We need to understand how to control it. It's not just a weapon, it's a double-edged sword. The cult will seek to take it from you, Kofi. We must prepare for what's coming. Suddenly, the door slammed open, and the cult members flooded in, their hooded figures blocking the entrance. You think you can hide from us? One shouted, his voice echoing ominously in the library. Aisha's heart dropped. We need to hide, she hissed, looking around frantically. But there was nowhere to go. Malachi gripped Kofi's shoulder, his expression steely. Hold the heart close, and remember what I said. Don't let fear control you. As the cult members approached, Aisha could feel the energy of the heart responding to her fear. It pulsed more strongly in Kofi's hands, the power almost overwhelming. We will take what is rightfully ours, one of the cult members growled, taking a step forward. Hand over the heart, and we will spare you. Never. Aisha shouted, drawing strength from the ancient texts. We won't let you control us. At that moment, Kofi felt the heart vibrate with energy, a warmth spreading through him. I can feel it, he said, his voice steadying. It wants to help us. Use it. Malachi urged. Channel its power. With a deep breath, Kofi closed his eyes, focusing on the heart's energy. He envisioned the shadows retreating, the cult members losing their power. A bright light erupted from the heart, filling the library with a blinding glow. The cult members recoiled, their faces contorted in fear. What is this power? One cried, stumbling backward. Aisha watched in awe as the light surrounded them, wrapping around the cult members and pushing them back. Keep going, Kofi, she encouraged, feeling her own strength growing. Kofi concentrated harder, the heart glowing brighter than ever. You have no power here, he shouted, his voice echoing through the library. The light surged forward, engulfing the cult members, who screamed in panic. The shadows began to dissolve, unraveling like threads in a tapestry. Aisha could see the fear on their faces as they were forced back into the street. Just as the last cult member stumbled out, a powerful blast of energy erupted from the heart, shaking the library. Aisha felt herself being thrown back against a shelf, the impact knocking the wind out of her. When she opened her eyes, the library was quiet, the shadows receding as the cult fled. Kofi stood at the center, breathing heavily, the heart still glowing faintly in his hands. We did it, he breathed, disbelief mixing with relief. Malachi rushed to Aisha's side, helping her to her feet. That was incredible. But we can't celebrate yet. They'll be back, and next time, they won't be so easily defeated. Aisha nodded, her heart still racing. We need to figure out how to control the heart's power for good. We can't let it fall into their hands again. As they gathered the ancient texts, Aisha felt a sense of purpose igniting within her. They had faced the darkness and emerged victorious, but she knew this was just the beginning. The shadows were relentless, and the cult would stop at nothing to reclaim what was theirs. Let's find a way to protect Awka for good, Aisha declared, determination shining in her eyes. As they prepared to leave the library, Aisha glanced back at the heart of shadows, now dim but still powerful in Kofi's grip. The battle was far from over, and they needed to uncover the secrets hidden within the ancient texts if they were to face the cult again. And as they stepped out into the bustling streets of Awka, Aisha felt the shadows shifting once more, a reminder that darkness was always watching. Will Aisha and others find a way to protect Awka for good? Or will they fail? Join us on the next episode to find out.